again, everybody. This is Brian Schwartz from the Central Coast Writers Conference, which is October 5th, 2024 at Cuesta College. I'm offering these short previews with our awesome speakers so that you get a taste of what you're walking into. And this session in particular, Allison Priola introduced me to Enneagram when I was at co-working with her husband, who started it up, and I had never heard of Enneagram before. And so she opened me to this whole new world that kind of blew my mind. And she'll talk a little bit about that. But all I can say is that if you've done a lot of self-work, introspective things, you're going to find that the Enneagram is kind of a shortcut to understand yourself. But what I asked Allison specifically to talk about this year at the conference was this idea of using Enneagram types. There's 9 types in the personas of your fictional characters to make them more relatable to your readers, because that's one of the keys to a successful, well-written book is relatable characters, whether it's a show you're watching on Netflix or a book you're reading. If the characters are not relatable to your readers, then you're going to potentially lose them. So with that said, Allison, I'll let you just do a quick introduction and then share a little bit more about what you're going to be talking about at the conference.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. As Brian said, my name is Allison Priola. I reside on the Central Coast as well. And I love the Enneagram. So I was introduced to the Enneagram about a decade ago through just my own practice. And the Enneagram, I would say, was the first tool that I really felt helped unlock my motivations and help me gain a greater understanding of myself. So I would say it was the best tool in self-awareness and emotional intelligence. It also is, I would say, the greatest tool for me in my relationships and in my work. And so a few years ago, I got certified as an Enneagram coach just because I saw the value of it. So for this time, during this conference, I'm really excited to explore the Enneagram with you. As Brian mentioned, the Enneagram has 9 types. So the Enneagram is a 3rd century motivations-based personality tool. And it helps us understand the lenses with which we see, interact, and respond to the world around us.
Wonderful. And who would be the ideal person to come to your session in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I think, as Brian mentioned with the character development, I think it's really important as we think about personalities and characters when we understand motivation. So we understand maybe the script that's going on in someone's head. It helps us really understand why a person's responding that way. And so Enneagram really does help us unlock that. So they help us understand what that motivation is and why people are responding certain ways or acting certain ways. So like I said, it's a lens. So there's different ways that we all see the world. I see the world differently than Brian does because our personality types are a little different. So I think anyone who's wanting to really probably deepen their character development, this is great. I will focus on all 9 types. And my goal is also to help you discover for yourself, your type, because I think when we know ourselves, we can better help others know their self. So even as a writer, when you know where the lens you're seeing the world, that's going to help you to practice seeing through other lenses as well.
Yeah, and I think that that's the what makes it unique. It's not like a traditional personality test. It's about your motivations of why you do what you do, but also why your characters behave the way they do. And I know that I've talked to a few fiction authors who let the characters write the stories. They write by the seat of their pants is what it's called. And they don't know where the stories are going, which is kind of crazy, but exciting. And part of what drives a lot of the writers is just seeing where these characters go. So in my mind, I'm not a fiction writer, but if I was, I would start with identifying some of the key attributes of a character based on the Enneagram. And I would kind of come back to that and put myself in the shoes of that character if I was that type. Because one of the things since I've learned about the Enneagram, in a perfect self-actualized human being, the idea is that you take all the positive aspects of each type and discard the negative aspects, because believe me, there's some negative things, but you can make a list of all these things, whether they're good or bad, whether they're a villain or a hero, right? It's kind of seeing both sides. And I'm sure if you dissect any character, and I think I've sent you some suggestions on characters I've seen just in the books I've read, there's fictional characters they use as an example for each type, right? I mean, I'm sure you have access to that.
Yeah.
That other writers have basically personified certain Enneagram types. And when you read these books, and there's dozens of books out there, and you'll give recommendations on some of the best, there's fictional characters that you'll see personify these different types.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And I would say for us, we're going to just focus on those 9 types. So my goal would be for those that attend this workshop to have an understanding of the Enneagram. So baseline understanding of the Enneagram, and then an understanding of these 9 different types. So we're going to look at the good and the hard. So we talk about like healthy to unhealthy, or integrated versus disintegrated. So we're going to look at these types and what does it look like when they're living healthy, and what does it look like when they're living maybe under stress or in an unhealthy way. And so by looking at the 9 types, then you could take that understanding to develop characters out of that. So we'll really just focus on what is the Enneagram and what do these 9 types look like? What are the things that are going on inside? Yeah.
So to clarify, do you want attendees to ideally have a baseline understanding of the Enneagram? And if so, what should they look for on YouTube that would give them that basic level?
Yeah, I don't know that you need to have a base level. I think it's great. I think Enneagram is a journey. So it's not at this destination we arrive at. I think it's a journey of learning and awareness. Like I said, it's been the greatest tool for me in my own personal, like, emotional intelligence journey. If people are interested, there's a lot of great podcasts out there and a lot of great YouTubes on Enneagram. If you even just search Enneagram, you're going to find an array. I would say some good and some not good also. I think really attendees who come might want to search a little. They might want to explore a little bit of what your type you think it might be. I really am not one that is a proponent of tests. I actually think Enneagram, like I said, is a journey, and you have to kind of discover on your own what type you might be. So we will cover all 9 types. I say Enneagram is a curiosity journey. So I will challenge you to be curious as we're talking. What are you kind of leaning in towards and pushing away from? And that'll help you in your own discovery. Typology is a great podcast. Enneagram Institute would be great as far as just learning more about the basics of Enneagram.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Well, thank you, Allison. We look forward to having you on October 5th. If those of you who are seeing this haven't yet registered, head over to centralcoastwritersconference.com. Get registered before Saturday, October 5th, and we will see you then. Thanks, Allison.
Absolutely.